live in the live stream. In the live stream, hair doesn't look great in the live stream. Need a haircut in the live stream. Well, not in the live stream, but outside of the live stream at some point. A haircut will be necessary, but not right now because we're doing a live stream. In the live stream, talking about the stuffs and the things and the gods and the not gods and the theisms and the atheisms and is there a God? Is there not a God? How do we know if there is or is not a God?
In the live stream.
In the live stream. And if there's not a God, where did like everything come from? Where do morals come from? Where does literally anything come from? But we're gonna try to focus on morals today. We're gonna fail because we always get off topic in the live stream. But we're gonna, that's kind of what we're here for. Where do we get our morals if not from a God? And how reliable can those morals be? Can that moral system be without a God? Because if there is a God dictating everything, morals kind of are what they are. What he says goes. It's just kind of how that system works, I suppose. Have some issues with it, not gonna lie, but what can you do? What can you do? But at least that would give us, an objective base, even though it's not, because it's this God being subjective ideas. Yes, he's created an entire world based on it, so it's about as close as you can get to objective morals, but it is still his subjective moral system that we align ourselves with, assuming that he's real and that this is the system that we should align ourselves with. But still his subjective morals, but it's close enough. It's close enough. And typically when we're speaking about objective morality, that's just kind of the label that we put on morals that come from some kind of a God being. Just because whatever. Morals, morality. Bless you means I hope my imaginary friend doesn't kick the crap out of you. That is quite interesting. Morality. What an idiot. Oh yeah, I know. I definitely am. But I do believe that we can get morals and ethics without a God. And I believe that, kind of looks like we did. And it doesn't really look like we got our morals from any kind of God or any kind of religious system. It seems like morals and ethics evolved with humanity over time as we learned how to deal with one another and work together for the betterment of a society and the people within the society, including ourselves. And at some point along the way, we made religion, and we baked the morals and ethics that we had into those religions with some tweaks. And then now we're trying to filter those out the other side as if they came specifically from those religions. Even though we have no reason to believe that there is any kind of God being or anything that put those moral systems in place or that would have passed that down. We have no reason to believe that any one or multiple, for that matter, of these religious systems or gods really is any kind of source of morals, ethics, really source for anything. I mean, even the idea of a God seems to precede religious ideas. Seems like we had beliefs and reasons to believe the supernatural as soon as someone said, I don't understand how this works, it must be something magical, It's just some kind of natural thing that we do, you don't understand it, it must be something else. That's no good reason to believe that it is something else, but that's a mindset, and especially early humans without access to the technology and information that we have today. Oh yeah, I mean, if I saw the sun going dark and the world going dark in the middle of the day, demons. You know, it's like solid. You know, that's a solid explanation for someone who has no grasp of the cosmos. Hi, what are you babbling about, my friends? As theism, atheism, is there a God? Do we have any reason to believe in a God? Morality without a God? Just kind of rambling at this point, honestly. I mean, you guys are the first couple chats, so I'm just kind of rambling. Is there anything you would like to add to the conversation pertaining to secular morals, morality with or without a God, pertaining to a universe without a God, pertaining to religions, pertaining to reasons to believe in a God? Stop hissing at your sister. Do any of you have anything to add to that situation? Because I don't think a God is necessary to explain anything. Just because we don't know how something works doesn't mean it has to have been a God. Now, again, it made sense, you know, back yonder when we didn't have an understanding of, like, anything. Yeah, the sun's going dark, demons, sure. But we've since replaced these ideas with actual, verifiable, studyable, testable, predictable explanations, scientific explanations. And we've replaced enough of those because we used to think that insect swarms, diseases, natural disasters, meteor showers, the sun rising and setting, the changing of seasons, we used to think that all these things were something supernatural because we didn't have a better explanation. Again, we didn't have a better explanation. So, you know, what can you do? But we've since come up with better, verifiable explanations for these things. And it wasn't magic. You know, and we've demonstrated that it's not just magic. So we don't really need to keep doing that thing where we just say, I don't know how this works, therefore it has to be something supernatural, when that system has pretty much failed us for a while and been disproven for a while. And that pool of, I don't know, therefore it must be God, has shrunk significantly throughout human history. Now, there's still plenty that we don't know, especially if you go beyond Earth. But we have still shrunk it. We are still chipping away at it more and more. God is our almighty creator. Cool. How do I know that? Where do the laws of physics come from? Because there should be no such rules that guide the entire universe. How does order invent itself? So you have to understand that when we say laws, it's not necessarily the universe has to follow the rules. Otherwise, I don't know, a space cop will pull up and arrest it or something. When we say laws, it's just how the universe works. The universe works the way that it works. And we don't really know all the ins and outs of that, but we also don't know that it could have happened any other way. We don't have any other universes to compare this one to show that it could have been any other way. The universe just works in a certain way, and there's still plenty of chaos. There's still plenty of chaos in the early solar system was very chaotic, and that same kind of chaos is happening probably all across the universe, and more chaotic things. Black holes are pretty chaotic. But yes, there's relative order, things set into motion because the universe does work a certain way. And we don't understand how all of that works, but just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it has to have been a God. I am not that James guy. Science. Okay, I'm not too far behind. Human addressed this pretty well with clarity and as complete as he could. Morality does not require religion, as ideas perhaps derivative of Voltairean has similar ideas. Not Hume. Hume. That makes more sense. Hume. Science is my God. I didn't vote for it to be God or ruler or king. The joke didn't really work. How the universe works, that means nothing. Just how the universe works, that means nothing. Just because we don't understand how the universe works doesn't mean it has to have been a God, though. This is how the universe operates. Can you demonstrate that there is a God out there with something other than what else could it be? I'm open for, explanations. I'm open for evidence and discussion. It's the main reason I sit down in this chair and do these live streams. Just talk about it. If for no other reason, then that is just an interesting topic to me. And I like to discuss it. I like to bat around ideas. Maybe, who knows, maybe I'm secretly trying to find God and strengthen my Christian faith. And I'm just putting up a facade of atheism. You don't know what I got. Why do you keep saying that that's just how the universe works? That's how the universe works. Did you ignore everything else that I said? There is, of course, no proof for God. It rests entirely on belief, nothing more. So why should we believe? It's like, of course, like proof, like absolute proof isn't, you can't be absolutely certain of anything. We can't be absolutely certain that we're not brains in a vat or anything like that. Or you can't be absolutely certain that you're the only thing that exists and that everything else is just a figment of your imagination. We can't be absolutely certain that we're not in a matrix. So, absolute proof, yeah, we can't really get anywhere with that. But evidence, solid reason to believe, things that really point in that direction, irrefutably. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Good reasons to believe. Because that's just kind of how I base my beliefs. If I don't have any reason to believe something, and beliefs aren't something that you choose. You're either convinced enough of something to warrant a belief, or you're not. And I am not convinced enough to warrant a belief in a God. So, does anyone have a warrant to believe in said God? Because I haven't found one. Why should we believe is a rather sophomore question. The best answer is because our brain is fundamentally an inference engine. Okay. Explain further. Because our brain is fundamentally an inference engine. Or in other words, our brain wants a reason why. And if there's nothing obvious, our brain will invent causality. Well, this is true. I can absolutely agree with that. But does that need for a why? Does that need for, that greater purpose, that greater reason, point to anything supernatural? Is that simple quest for a why reason to believe that there is some kind of why, some kind of grand purpose, grand design? I'm just stretching. I haven't found one. I've tried, tried. But no such luck. Tried looking in some other religions as well, and no such luck. What can you do? I would like there to be something else out there. I don't know if I'd be fully on board with any of the gods that have been proposed thus far, but I would like there to be something out there, something else, a god perhaps. An afterlife would be really, really cool, Maybe not like the bad afterlife, the bad ending, but at least a good ending or a neutral ending would be pretty cool. Unbreakable laws, unlike human laws that can be broken, don't get you to ponder how something so strong, consistent, and orderly came to be. You can't be much of a scientist. I never really claimed to be a scientist. I'm a dude sitting in an office talking to people on YouTube, which I guess some scientists do. I don't have any scientific credentials. I'm not claiming to be a scientist. But just because we don't understand how the universe works doesn't mean that there has to be a God. The universe does seem to work the way that it works and has those laws. Does that mean there has to have been a designer? Religion is the greatest fraud ever perpetrated upon mankind or per Christopher Hitchens, religion poisons everything. An argument can definitely be made for that. Hey, RM. What are we talking about? What's an unbreakable law? Physics? Yeah, basically just like the unbreakable laws of the universe. And how that points to, I guess, a designer of sorts. There's something on my desk. I'm an animal. What is on my desk? It's probably food of some sort. Disgusting. Universe works the way it works. Again, break down what's wrong with that. The universe appears to work in a certain way. It operates in a certain way. Atoms, elements, physics operate in such a way. And perhaps if they operated in a different way, we might have a different representation of the universe. There's no guarantee that this is the only way it has to work. And there's every possibility that if things worked differently, that there would be a universe where people are sitting here having this exact same conversation. We don't know that. We don't have any other universes to compare. As far as we know, this is just how the universe works. This is the only way that the universe works. And we don't know why. We don't know the deeper whys, why? Yeah, we don't know the deeper whys. But does that mean it has to be some kind of intelligent designer or God or anything like that? It's like, say, because in lieu of an answer. I mean, I've said a lot more than just that's how the universe works. But you kind of keep tunnel visioning on that one sentence. More accurate to say that to a probability of about 8 decimal points, it works the way it works. It remains a probabilistic answer. I would say it's not so much that there's unbreakable laws. I think it's more like we figure out a way that certain interactions can be predicted with near certainty, then we use language to describe it. Yeah. The laws that we've written are just how the universe works. It's just describing how the universe works. Now, if it's a matter of why the universe works that way, some greater purpose, I don't have that answer. And just because we don't have that answer, I don't think necessarily means it has to have been some kind of something divine or whatever else have you. I got this fidget cube. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. It's super cool. It's super cool. Hopefully it's not like too noisy or anything. Spooky. Spooky. Yeah, giddy. Yes, because I left Christianity. Today I enjoy it, but tomorrow I'll suffer. Prove it. I guess we can prove it in time. It's possible that somebody will have the last laugh when I'm burning in hell and they're up in heaven. I've gotten a few comments of people who are eagerly, only a few, of people who are eagerly awaiting that, who are just ready to see me, just like, I can't wait to see your face when like you realize you're screwed for eternity. It's gonna be so great. It's kind of messed up, but whatever. You got yourself into a great circularity of unanswerable questions and answers. Suggest you go back to some of the great singers on this as you're trying to reinvent the wheel. Good night. Is that for me? Got yourself into a great circularity of unanswerable questions and answers. So you should go back to some great country singers as you're trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not trying to reinvent anything. But a God cannot be a possibility. Even though you don't, but a God cannot be a possibility. Even though you don't have any answer, you know that it cannot be, it cannot be a God or a designer. I never said that. I think something it's important to bring up is that there could be a God. I have not seen anything that makes me believe, but it's possible. But if there is a God, it surely is not Yahweh. That's okay. Typing's not easy. And I'm sure you're trying to like quickly type in chat and like try to keep up. I would make more mistakes than you, so don't even worry about it. I try to like, because that happens all the time, like to so many people. I try to fill it in like as best as I can. It's like what I think was attempting to be said, but sometimes I mess it up. Yeah, I've not seen anything. Because here's the thing, the default position on any belief system is just to not believe until you have reason to believe. That's just how things work. You're not going to believe in something if you don't have reason to believe in it. So I just don't have any reason to believe in it. So if we have no evidence for or against the existence of a God, if we cannot prove that a God does or does not exist, we should still disbelieve. Not claim that there for certain is not a God, because nobody has the credentials and the evidence to really back that claim of for certain there is no God. But if we just have nothing, why should I believe to begin with? That's how I work. How many gods has anyone met that they could possibly know what constitutes a god? I mean, I get a lot of people claiming that they've met this god or had interactions with this god or that god. Especially if you go back throughout human history, there are stories of people physically interacting with, Jesus, with Zeus, or whatever else have you, with Krishna. So there are people who have claimed to have had interactions with a god and met a god. But yeah, if nobody has, then we might just be grasping at straws trying to figure out what a god would be. Or how we would even detect. I would love if we got a scientific breakthrough where we could somehow detect what we now refer to as the supernatural. Even though I don't really like the word supernatural, because if supernatural things, spirits, afterlives, gods, things like that, were demonstrated to be real, I think they would just kind of be a part of the natural universe, so I don't think they would be supernatural. Therefore, I don't think they're supernatural now, but I don't know that, and supernatural is just kind of a category that we've put those things in, so I kind of use that colloquially, but I don't love the idea. I don't love that as a definition. But it would be cool, I'm waiting for the day where we're able to really study and test and do all the same things that we use to collect evidence of the natural world with what we deem to be supernatural. Because that's what it is. We have ways of testing and studying and predicting and learning about the natural world that are reliable. And we got nothing for the supernatural. Or again, what we've categorized as supernatural. You have no way of doing any of that. So I'm holding and I'm going to keep using the word just for lack of a better word, I'm holding the natural and supernatural to the same standards. Supernatural just doesn't really have any evidence with those standards. It'd be cool if it did. What's your... I can show that comment. What's your lip routine? Chapstick. I play a fun game here in my office of chapstick roulette, where I have 3 different flavors of chapsticks. Sparkling apple cider, holiday nog, and hot cocoa. They're not the best chapstick flavors, but it's kind of fun just to be I'm just reaching and just grab one and just be what am I applying to myself today? How may I torment myself today? I mean, they're not terrible. have like cat hair in my eye. I'm losing my mind. Compulsive lip biting in cold weather plus chapstick for that lush red carpet ready look. You know what? Yeah. I pick at the skin on my lips all the time, and especially it's cold and wintry and dry. And yeah, no, like you hit all the points there. Fortunately, those are people with just words, like the Bible, just words. Unless one is to open it, no one can get to God with just words. It has to be thought through and questioned, okay? Supernatural is simply how things work outside the boundaries of human and animal capabilities, like bilocation or teleportation, spirits transcending through time and space and matter. Yeah. I think that might be a good way to categorize it. I just wish I had a better word, because like it doesn't matter. You know, it's just me being nitpicky about words. It doesn't matter. And I know, like, you know, that's just what humans use. It's just like kind of how we've categorized things, you know, as the natural versus supernatural. But it doesn't work, because if it actually exists, then I think it would be supernatural. I don't know. But that's basically what it is. Basically what supernatural comes down to in the end.
How much cats chewed on these pieces.
Oh, yeah. I'm wondering if we're going to be missing some pieces.
That's what I'm wondering too.
Honestly, we could just like fill in the gaps with puzzle glue and then like color it in with marker or something. No one will notice. It's a 1,000-piece puzzle. No one will notice.
That's fine.
Hopefully it's one of like the single colored pieces.
Right now.
A puzzle. There's a big puzzle on the floor that Taylor's working on.
I'm trying to find the edge pieces. I had most of the edge pieces together.
If we're made to God's image, does that mean God has genitals? Who is God using the genitalias with? His wife, Asherah, who we don't talk about anymore. Hey, Doom. Morris, I think one of your chats may have gotten cut off. I just got a chat. It said, and see God's word. So I don't know if there was like another paragraph before that, and then and see God's word. I don't know if YouTube grabbed it. If it grabbed it, it should have showed me that it grabbed it. So I don't know if there was more to that. Maybe try like rewording it. And because sometimes the YouTube grabs things for stupid reasons, and sometimes it like holds them for review. And it's like, hey, is this something okay? And usually it is. And sometimes it just launches it off into the ether, and I never even get a chance to see it. So I don't know if that's what happened to like the rest of your text. I'm losing my mind. Just a hair. Just like a cat hair or something in my eye. I'm losing my everlasting gobstoppers. I use God word to satire the word. Okay. Okay. You do stop motion animations. That's actually pretty cool. I would not have the patience or mental capacity to do stop motion animation. Maybe if I wanted to make like a 2-second clip, 3-second clip, I think I would flip the table after that. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So, you know, kudos to you for being able to like actually do something like that, because gosh, it takes a lot of something that not a lot of people have. It is pretty cool. I hope that gets you somewhere, because that is a cool talent. This should be used. You've already made a 1 minute animation. How many frames is a 1 minute animation? If I'm using like the terminology right, like how many like pictures or frames or like whatever is a 1 minute animation. In ancient times, kings used the Bible to manipulate politics. Is there any parallel to that with the current state of affairs in the United States and the Conservative Party? It's always throughout human history, multiple different places, multiple religion has always played a role in influencing politics. It just kind of is. 600 to 700. How long did that take you to do? Yeah, animation is so rough. And we can dramatically speed up that process, but that only applies to digital animation, yeah. And you used paper, like drawing, like drawings on paper, or like paper, like mache or origami. I guess 2D paper or 3D paper. I guess 2D could be cutouts or drawings, but like, how so? Flat cutouts. Gosh. And how long did that take you to make a 1 minute thing? If our way of thinking is chemical processes, then our arguments against God's existence is just chemicals, meaning that it's not really an argument, is it? It's just chemicals, so there's no paradigm at all. Yeah, if all our thoughts and feelings and whatnot are just chemical reactions, then sucks. Yeah, can't really disagree. 8 days using flat paper cutouts. 600 to 700 frames for a minute short animation. I could never. I don't have any of the anythings to do something like that. That is awesome, especially at such a young age. That is awesome. Keep that up. On the 9th day, he rested. Gosh, I wouldn't make it to 8 days. I just don't have any of the faculties or capacity to do that. So that's amazing. I don't think a lot of people do. I don't even know what all that would take. Like skill and patience and mental fortitude. I have about 200 paper props cut out. Gosh, that's insane. I see life. Why? Where? From? How? Why? Where? From? How? I see Earth placed perfectly and shielded in deadly space. The moon helps make life possible on Earth. Why isn't there anything else on Earth like humans? And backgrounds and characters. So, Richard, I think a good answer would be to keep in mind that the universe is massive and is old, and it is filled with a lot of stuff, and it does a lot of stuff. Again, not all of which we understand, which I know doesn't really help the situation. But the odds in a seemingly infinite universe, or inconceivably big universe, filled with what is necessary for life, of there being at least a planet that can harbor said life, the odds are almost inevitable. And if life had come about somewhere else, there could be a planet off yonder in a different galaxy, far, far away from here, where they're fighting with lightsabers. No, I'm sorry. Where they're having the same conversation of like, our world was like just perfect. There could be hundreds of worlds with people on them having this exact same discussion or some kind of form of that discussion. But, if you're talking about like how life is so perfect, how the moon and everything is so perfectly placed, it's just of all the ways that we can configure things in the universe, because the universe is probably configured, solar systems and planets are probably configured in a seemingly infinite amount of ways, it seems inevitable that eventually one would be able to harbor humans. And why isn't there anything else on Earth like humans? Once well, there kind of are. There's, monkeys and apes and stuff. But also, once you get a species as dominant and widespread as humans, or some kind of dominant species, that does control the environment in a way. Especially when you're talking about access to food and resources, especially when you take into account how much wildlife we have killed, how many species of plants and animals have gone extinct because of stuff that we specifically did. It can make things difficult for something to evolve like us. And then, the closest thing, like I said, is monkeys and apes. Well, some of them we have locked in cages, so there is that. Others were hunting, so there is that. Others were taking away their home, so there is that. So there is a little bit, they're not quite in a position to thrive and evolve. So basically what I'm saying is, when you get something higher evolved, it makes it harder for things. I wouldn't even say less evolved, because there are a lot of creatures who are a lot cooler than humans. We're not really the coolest. We're just kind of arguably the most intellectually advanced. But we've already kind of claimed our spot where we're at. It's going to be hard for something else to evolve into that spot. And also, evolution is not necessarily a ladder to where everyone's trying to get to humans. Like I said, there are other species who have evolved and are managing just fine without being humans. The profile picture is Soapy from the animation we were making. Nice. This guy looks like the actor from I Shrunk the Kids. I don't know how I should take that. Oh God, I got behind on chat. I'm going to try to speed read through these. We are a rare evolutionary niche that... Not that rare, though. Ancient humans did lots of things like us. We found spears dating 400,000 years ago that were meticulously crafted by non-humans. Why is there life at all? Never mind. What is the meaning of life? It's a good question. You say there's nothing else like us on Earth, but we call those primates. Hey, intelligence, you mean in the other universe somewhere? Maybe. Where did matter originate from? I don't know. We get so much fighting over the animation looking too much like South Park. Damn. You're doing what you can. Trajan saying you're doing what you can. I can see how it could, South Park kind of is. I can see how it would be compared to like paper cutouts. Also, Earth isn't that special. There are a lot of Earth-like planets, the planets that could sustain life. There's a quadrillion planets out there. Life is inevitable. No matter how rare it is, something as dynamic and magnificent as life, it just happened one day. We don't know all of the reasons or all of the answers to those questions. We don't know. I don't know all of the answers. Couldn't the universe just not have happened? Maybe. If there's going to be worth nothing, why is there life if life has no meaning? Everything is a waste, order and meaning in life just as a cosmic crap show. Maybe. There isn't a why, just a how. We can pretty much conceive of how life is possible without bringing God into it. If Earth is so perfectly designed for us, why is the planet so hostile and difficult? That is true. Animation is going to be your job after college. Nice. And you're starting so young that if you keep doing this until you leave college, you're going to be so much better than you are now. And it sounds like you're already doing pretty well. So I can't imagine. You seems like you can make a pretty lucrative career out of this. Over billions of years, proteins were formed that ended up spreading and growing out of their own niche. Little primordial soup. The right combination of molecules was found. Leeches are your favorite. Interesting. DNA is that protein. It built cells around it. That was the optimal state form. All right, almost there. Proteins attempting. Where did that come from? They aren't conscious, obviously. Just by sheer chance, molecules combine, and some of the larger molecules, proteins, happen to replicate and mutate and spread. Many of them weren't suitable to facilitate life, but the one that was became the baseline of life today. Judy opened up a can of worms. I'm okay with that. That means we get engagement on the live. It just means we get engagement and discussion. That's not a bad thing. Everything came from nothing. There's no harm in picking a religion just in case. It might be true, right? If everything came from nothing, which I don't think anybody is claiming, I'm certainly not, there's no harm in picking a religion just in case. It may be true, right? No, not necessarily, but there's a lot of harm that can come from religion. And it can do a lot of harm to individuals and others. Veritasium made a video actually on this model for the origin of life. I believe it to be extremely likely. It's all meaningless anyway. In the end, but we're here now. And we can sit here all doom and gloom, nothing matters, anarchy, go killing everybody, cut all these lives short. The only lives that we know we're going to get, just cut them all short. It doesn't even matter. Or we can make the most out of whatever time we have and create a world where everyone, including ourselves, has that opportunity. And so we have laws and ethics and systems in place to typically don't seem to have it perfect, and we seem to disagree a lot on, the means, but seems like a lot of us are trying to promote human well-being and longevity, to do the most out of, because we are just here. I don't know how we got here. I don't know where we're going, but we're here now. And it could be that there's nothing after this life. So I think we should try to make the most out of it. Drew, this here YouTube channel you created and actively maintain with sole purpose, where for dozens of hours you argued against a god, has just now opened up a can of worms. Yep. So pick a religion that isn't harmful or makes you make mistakes anyway. What does it matter? It's all worth nothing in the end. But it's worth something now. And yeah, if somebody's staying in their own corner, not hurting themselves or others with religious beliefs, I don't care. Yeah, I never liked the philosophy of what is green is red, and what is life. What if life is all a dream? It would be like, and so let's make the best out of it anyway. Yeah, sure. I kind of like the, not in serious discussions, but every now and then I think it's typically described as like bong rip theology. Just like it just sounds like a group of people getting high. Just like, man, what if red is actually green? I like those just for what they are, but they're definitely not for serious discussion. I gotta ask, if God is not real, then why did I pray and got extremely good at guitar, violin, piano, voice over singing, animation, art, and satire? Did you put forth the effort to get better? Did you wake up one day and were suddenly good at guitar, piano, violin, voice singing, animation, art, and satire? Or was there work that was put in? It's like God gave me the thumbs up for the show me and my friends are making. How can something be worth something now if it's worth nothing in the end? An economy worth appreciates or depreciates, never vanishes. Because we could sit here and say, oh, it's all doom and gloom and nothing matters, and waste the only existence that we know we're going to get. Because it does, in the end, have no inherent value. or we could try to make the most of whatever time we have. I like the analogy, if you're watching a movie, you know the movie's going to end, do you just like not watch the movie, or do you go and sit and enjoy the movie while it lasts, even if it's going to end? Nihilism, yep. At the end of the day, it's all pointless in the grand scheme, but guess what? That the profoundly rare chance that this assembly of atoms gets to exist and experience is good enough for me. Yeah. You know? And it's not like I'm just like content just to be here, be like, I don't care, we're here now. I'm literally having a discussion with people right now on this live stream about, what could it be? What could it not be? What, explanations? I'd like to have these answers. I like to have these explanations, but I would also like evidence, reason to believe that whatever answers we're coming up with are actual answers. The pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is a fulfilling one. I agree. It's genuinely enjoyable. I think one of the reasons I, want to stick around and like keep living and stuff, and especially, through times where I really didn't want to, and times where I wanted to go ahead and take myself out of the equation. One of the things that kept me going was just the fascination of life and the world. There's so much more to learn and experience and understand. And I want to experience and learn and understand as much of it as I possibly can. Life after this one, evidence of a god, even UFOs require intelligent research, detective work over many resources as possible. Sure. I was homeless when I was 2 or 3 years old. Then I got adopted into a really kind Christian family. Good. Hello from... It's a tiny flag. That's a tiny flag. I'm sorry. Is that the UK flag? What's the stream about? The atheism, theism. How did things get here if there's not a God or whatever? I grew up in faith. I grew up in faith too. I do want you to be careful. It is the UK flag. Sweet. Got it right. I do want you to be careful to avoid something called survivor's bias. You had some rough beginnings, but you've made something out of it, and you have a good life. One might even use the word blessed. There's a lot of people who didn't get that. If it's so wonderful, that this kid beat cancer and went, after being prayed over, and went on to live his life and, grow and thrive, but we ignore all the kids who don't make it, whether they're prayed over or not. So, yeah, not everyone is going to perish under the worst adversity. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it was prayer or faith or anything like that. That's well, and it can be a motivating factor, but that doesn't mean that some supreme being had a hand in carrying you out of that adversity. I do believe in God. About all I know to pray about is prayers of thanks, because life is wild and I'm glad to exist in it before going back to dust. God gonna do what they're gonna do. Yeah, I can agree with that. If there's a God out there, I've had a pretty blessed life. There's, it hasn't been the most perfect, but what life is. But if there is a God out there, I would be very thankful for the life that I've got to live. People experience pain and suffering on earth. It's better off for life to simply not exist. Life is harmful. We would be better off lifeless as rock. I disagree. I think existence is preferable to non-existence. United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Nice. I'm going to show my cards and my intelligence right now. I didn't know that's what the UK was. The United Kingdoms of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Is that what the UK is? Didn't know that. Just full transparency. So is this a skeptic of theism? Yeah. Many in my family have died of cancer. I'm sorry to hear about that. It's never a fun thing. As a follower of Christ who was once an atheist, I always find these conversations interesting. I think that as long as both sides are open and respectful, then all is good. I can absolutely agree with that. As an atheist, I think you gain more respect for people. Because without God, all that's left is to realize that you and those around you are responsible for setting things right. And that's awesome. Yeah. It's accountability. You know? So you have to make that change. Snickers. 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 He's just chirping at me. Hello. I grew up into a teenager that mocks love and hope and even weak faith. My favorite satire is when I involve leeches. Solid. Don't worry, barely anyone knows its official name is the United Kingdoms of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, unless they are from here. Well, that does make me feel better. It's not an excuse, because we should, just kind of like know about the world that we live in. I got really confused for a second. I saw something on my phone. But yeah. As someone who is gay, how should I face theism? That's a big question. That's a big boy question. I don't think theism and homosexuality are inherently at odds. When you get to certain brands of theism, like Christianity and Islam, and especially certain brands of Christianity, because there are some more progressive forms of Christianity, then things get a little bit more abrasive. But as far as facing theism, I mean, if it's about activism and standing up against oppression from these religions, the oppression that they show towards the LGBTQ plus community, that's a good thing to do, stand up against it. But if it's about finding God, I think that would be a path to take on your own, and to figure out between you and that being, assuming he exists. And I think that's with or without homosexuality. I'd imagine that most Americans that don't know that fact, they tend not to really be concerned with anything outside of their borders. I try to be better. I really do. If life and existence is preferable than non-life and non-existence, then who decided for all of us? Nobody asked for it to be chosen for us. Right. We all just came into exist. And I'm not saying like objectively life is preferable to non-life or existence preferable to non-existence. I just think. But yeah, nobody seems to have asked us. Or if there's a God, then he did it without a permission. If there's not a God, then it just kind of happened. And we're just kind of here now. Either way, I don't think our permission was asked. I even mock the love I have. Solid. Many think God should fix everything. But then what would be the point of our lives in free will? We'd just be playthings, learning nothing, not consequences. I don't know. I mean, God in the Bible paints a picture of a new Jerusalem after this world has ended, where people have free will and they're also able to walk around and enjoy life in the beautiful city. So, like, it can be done. He just kind of didn't do it yet, at least. Theism and LGBTQ plus are compatible. Religion and LGBTQ plus are often not compatible. No, not. YT spell checks my words. Yeah. Drew, you are probably an outlier. Don't worry. I try to be. It's difficult. The science behind gay is preferable to try. It's difficult. The science behind gay is preferable to try to comprehend to the religion behind being gay. but it's difficult when you grow up being told certain things. Yeah. Wouldn't it be better to have the goodness without needing struggle to attain it? Maybe. Bukatama is not compatible with anything. Yeah, sorry. I think we're going to offend Matt and Trey of South Park. Maybe. I am nearing the end of the live. I need to make more videos, guys. That's what I need to make more videos. I have some video ideas and some short ideas. I just kind of need to make time to do it, which I don't have a whole lot, but I have some. And I think I can make it work. I think I just need to make it work. God is a belief. What you need is truth. Sure, I'm all for seeking truth. You tell God you don't like the way he does things. I'm not. Hey God, I'm not really sure I'm on board with the way you're doing things down here. Just my personal opinion. There, I did it for you. In your opinion, is science preferable to make moral choices in comparison to a book? Probably. I think when it comes to moral choices, we have to look at outcomes. What does this action do? Observe, test, and study, and learn from history. Because obviously, I don't think we should test just there's how does shooting someone make them feel? We don't really need to run that experiment, but we can learn from history. And look at the evidence, look at the data that we've collected, and make decisions based on that, looking for probably human well-being, happiness, longevity, safety, things of the sort. I think one issue humans have with God fixing things, they revolve around our perceptions of God through religion. Maybe God doesn't care about our exact comfort level or beliefs, maybe. Christianity is the only religion in which there are 10 commandments. So, why does that matter? If you guys can come support us, that would be great. Yeah. Go look at this. If you like a stop motion animation and want to support someone who took 8 days and 600 to 700 frames and hundreds of cutouts to make a 1-minute animation, you should go look at this guy. Islam is the only religion in which there are a certain number of laws. Yeah, there are religions that have what's the word I'm looking for? Unique qualities, but that doesn't mean that their unique quality is their unique quality doesn't mean they have to be true. I am probably going to end the live stream soon, just a heads up. I fear things like the 7 deadly sins make sense. I fear things like the 7 deadly sins make sense morally, but it doesn't justify everything in the Bible. Yeah, I mean, if there's not a God, the Bible was written by humans. They didn't have no morals. We can discuss the morality in the Bible. Maybe not now because that's a whole can of worms. But it was if it was written by humans and there wasn't any divine intervention involved, there were some morals involved. It's not like the whole book is completely void of any kind of morals. Yeah. Ten Commandments is the foundation for morality in Western societies, in my opinion. Let me just pull it up in front of me, just so I have it in front of me, so I can go through it without losing my place. So, I am the Lord thy God, you shall not have any gods before me. Not everyone's Christian, I don't think that matters. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember to keep holy the Lord's day. Don't make idols, depending on what version of the Ten Commandments you're looking at. So the first like 3 or 4 are just kind of like respect the God, and like I don't really think that's necessary for any kind of morals. Honor thy father and mother can be alright. Not everyone's father and mother deserves to be honored, you know. Don't kill. Yeah, don't kill. Don't steal. Committing adultery is pretty shitty. Don't bear false witness. That's just kind of practical, you know. And also, it's just shitty to bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. I mean, don't be obsessive about it. Don't try to like take things that aren't yours or anything, but like, or don't try to like compare yourselves to others in such a way where it's going to make yourself miserable. But you can look at something amazing that somebody else has and use it to motivate yourself, like so you can have a life like that one day. So like, maybe half of the 10 Commandments I'm alright with, but like, that's it. Humans always love to make false positives based on numbers. Humans like to do a lot of things. Christian theology was a major contributor for morality in the West. Sure. True. Do you think there is inherent morality amongst people? Do you think there is inherent morality amongst people if there is no religion at all? I don't think there's objective morality with or without a religion. I'm going to go ahead and keep that hidden. But yeah, I'm going to check out those videos. Yeah, and it seems like we have a moral system with or without a God, and I can see how we can get a system of morals and ethics without a God. A system of morals and ethics can evolve with humanity over time as we learn how to deal with one another and work together for the betterment of a society and the people within that society, including ourselves. You can even justify secular morality with selfish reasons, even if it's just selfishness driven. You know, I want to live in a society where we don't murder each other because I don't want to be murdered. Therefore, let's promote a society where murderers are sentenced. You know, they're prosecuted, whatever the word I'm trying to look for is. I think people are imbued with certain ideas that make people biased towards certain moral views, but it's not inherent because someone always disagrees with someone somewhere. Yeah. Do you think the 10 Commandments could have just been suggested out of wisdom? In a way, perhaps. I mean, religion has provided... Yeah, I don't know why YouTube grabbed that. I mean, religion has provided moral values to people, but low IQ people can't hold moral values at all. Look at third world countries of the world like Africa, South Asia. I don't know if I agree with that in the slightest. You're saying that third world countries are filled with immoral, low IQ individuals? Because, like, I don't know if we want to go there. And I'm not going to go there because, you know, I'm almost done with the life. But, like, I don't think that's an accurate description. I think one of the biggest lessons in the Bible is don't persecute others because they persecuted God on earth to death. It's a lesson in there, yeah. Could morality have evolved through the motivation of reproduction? And if so, that raises the question of the purpose of reproduction. Your thoughts? So, evolution doesn't really happen if there's not reproduction. It's kind of the driving force of evolution. So that's the purpose. It just doesn't work without evolution. So if something didn't reproduce, it didn't continue. And only things that reproduce can continue. That's why reproduction is such a huge thing. As far as that fresh bread's still good. With that, I do think I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I hope you all enjoyed it. Absolutely, they evolved together, but why are they doing this? What is the ultimate goal? It's just how things work. It's how genetics are passed down. I don't understand all of it either. It more basic than reproduction. It helps with preservation in general. Yeah. But I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream there. Thank you all so much for stopping by. I'm always greatly appreciative, and I say this every time because it's true every time. I'm always appreciative of anyone who gives me even a second of their time. Anyone who doesn't just scroll past, but especially people who stick around, who chat, who like, subscribe, whatever, even just, you know, lurking in the chat is cool. I'm a random nobody on the internet. I don't really deserve anyone's attention or anything, so it's cool that anyone stops for longer than a second. I usually go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night. That's my new schedule at about 9 something ish Central Standard Time. I start somewhere between 9 and 9:30 and go for about an hour usually. And yeah, thanks for your time. Thank you for your time. Hey, thank you all so much for being here. Have an amazing rest of your day, night, whenever you're watching this. Bye.